Hey guys, today I'll show you a science fiction thriller TV series named The 4400. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The story begins in 2006 in Detroit, USA. Shanice and her husband had just welcomed a beautiful biracial daughter. Shanice had just finished her maternity leave, and today she had to return to work to support their hungry newborn. Unbeknownst to her, her happy and fulfilling life was about to be shattered. On her drive to work, a green light suddenly descended from the sky, sucking her up and then spitting her out onto a patch of grass in a place called Belle Isle Park. Fissures continuously appeared in the sky, depositing people onto the ground. The area was in chaos, with people seemingly from different places. Soon, the entire grassy area was crowded with people. Police sirens blared nearby as they were surrounded by officers. Early in the morning, probation officer Keisha was assigned by her boss to investigate these cases. The person in charge was her girlfriend Jessica from Homeland Security. Jessica informed Keisha that they had released a fake news story to cover up the sudden appearance of thousands of people. Fingerprint checks revealed that these individuals were all missing persons from different times and places over the past few decades. Keisha was tasked with working with social workers to gather intelligence on them. These sudden people were housed in a hotel where they exchanged information about their current situation, but everyone was bewildered by what happened. Among them, a pastor attempted to strike up a conversation with Claudette, who was from the 1960s or 70s. However, Claudette had been injured during the time travel and didn't trust this stranger, so she made an excuse to leave. Meanwhile, the flamboyant Donna thought it was a prank by friends and quickly declared she didn't want to play along anymore. As a lawyer, Shanice stepped forward to negotiate with the police, threatening to use legal means to make them pay. She assured them that a judge would grant them justice. However, the people present were from different eras and had varying knowledge of this judge. The current police officers informed them that the judge had passed away last year. Some people didn't recognize the judge at all, while others thought he was a rookie judge. Realizing something was amiss, Shanice asked what year it was. The police replied, "It's 2021. The crowd was in disbelief that they were sent to the future from 2006. Meanwhile, Andre, who was a doctor among the crowd, examined the wound on Claudette's leg. Coming from an era when African Americans faced severe discrimination, Claudette cynically remarked that even by 2021, the situation for minor people hadn't improved, especially seeing the white police officers around her. Keisha's partner is social worker Jarl. They have differing attitudes towards the interrogation room's isolation measures. Jarl wants to remove the isolation glass quickly to lower the other side's guard, while Keisha believes everything should follow standard procedures. To be released and reunite with her daughter as soon as possible, Shanice candidly explains to them how she was mysteriously transported to the future by a green light. Jarl is intrigued by this, but Officer Keisha dismisses it as smelly bullshit. Realizing this, Shanice understands that they do not plan to release her anytime soon. Later, Shanice and another time traveler, a girl named Mildred, go to the restroom. Shanice talks about how much she misses her baby at home. Moved by Shanice's motherly love, Mildred unintentionally uses her superpower to disable the camera and unlock the door. Although both are unsure of what happened, Mildred urges Shanice to seize the opportunity and go home to check on her family. Despite having only been gone for a short while, it is now 2021. Can everything still be the same as it was 16 years ago? On her way, Shanice recalls how she met her husband. Many years ago, they met during a protest where the man shielded her from a police baton and cheekily introduced himself. Meanwhile, Keisha and Jarl have interrogated 15 people, arguing over their testimonies. Keisha remains skeptical of the green light time travel story, while Jarl believes their families would be worried about their loved ones being held captive. At this moment, Jarl receives a text and leaves hurriedly. Keisha continues interrogating the last boy who hasn't spoken a word and doesn't know sign language. Just then, Jessica informs Keisha that Shanice has escaped. The police speculate she went home, and they are correct. Shanice arrives at her old home from 16 years ago, banging on the door. However, her husband has moved out, and a frightened stranger inside calls the police. As the patrol cars surround her, Shanice flees. Jarl, having just arrived, watches Shanice disappear into an alley, followed closely by Keisha. To cover for Shanice, Jarl gives the police false directions and then chases after Shanice himself. Shanice hides in a nearby neighbor's house. After recounting past events, the neighbor finally confirms Shanice's identity. Seeing this, Jarl decides to quietly stand guard outside. Shanice tries all of her husband's phone numbers but gets no answer. Fortunately, the neighbor has his new address. She suggests Shanice rest for the night before proceeding. Exhausted, Shanice reluctantly agrees to hold off until the morning. Meanwhile, Dr. Andre is astonished to find that Claudette's wound has healed on its own. Claudette dismisses it as a minor injury and sends the doctor's smelly butt away. During dinner, she decides to test her healing ability, but finds the sharpest object nearby is Donna's nail. She follows Donna to the restroom and asks her to scratch her like a wild cat. After much pleading, Donna agrees. Miraculously, the wound heals instantly. The next day, they repeat the experiment in front of the doctor, confirming Claudette's unique superpower, which seems to accelerate over time. Dr. Andre advises them to keep this a secret to avoid being captured for experimentation. The next day, the group protests to the police, demanding to be released immediately. As tensions rise, Mildred discreetly uses her power to control the batons. A persuasive pastor steps in to mediate, calming everyone down and requesting Jessica provide them with a safe resting space and a response to their situation by tomorrow. Jessica, assessing the situation, agrees to their demands for now. Dr. Andre praises the pastor's leadership, but Claudette remains skeptical, recalling how her smooth-talking husband once deceived her. Elsewhere, as soon as Shanice steps outside, she encounters Jarl, who had been waiting all night. He assures her he's not siding with the government and can help her deal with the agents at her door on the condition that she returns with him after seeing her family. Touched by his sincerity, Shanice agrees. However, it seems Jarl has his own secrets. They arrive at Shanice's husband's new home, and Shanice instantly recognizes her now-grown daughter, Mariah, who answers the door. The husband also appears, but from his perspective, Shanice abandoned the family 16 years ago. He finds it hard to trust her. Shanice tries to explain, but such a bizarre story is difficult to convey. Just then, Officer Keisha and the agents surround the house. The man's current wife also steps out, revealing that he remarried 9 years ago. Shanice is overwhelmed with grief and anger. An unforeseen event had taken her from her happy family, and now the man believes she is lying. Before leaving, the man tells Shanice he found a letter indicating she intended to leave the family, leaving her with no way to defend herself. Afterwards, Jarl criticizes Keisha and the agents for arresting Shanice in front of her daughter. Keisha suspects Jarl might have helped Shanice escape. One believes in humanity, the other in the system, and they part ways in disagreement. Back at the hotel, Dr. Andre came to comfort Shanice, who had been detained. However, Shanice's tragic experience left the doctor at a loss for words. Shanice confided in Dr. Andre that she had not been prepared for motherhood back then and struggled to balance work and family. She had almost decided to leave her family for her career and had even written a farewell letter to her husband, planning to hide it in the car. Ultimately, her sense of responsibility towards her family made her stay. Ironically, it was this letter that caused her husband to distrust her 16 years later. This unexpected event had made her lose everything. Overwhelmed with sorrow, Shanice sobbed in the doctor's hormone-let-go arms. After being under house arrest for 2 days, Donna's spirits had hit rock bottom. Claudette came over to comfort her, reassuring her that everyone was in this together and that difficulties would eventually pass. Seeing the group's low morale, Claudette started playing the piano in the hall to lift everyone's spirits. The group began dancing to the TikTok music, releasing the pent-up tension of the past days. One of the Asian police officers seemed to take a liking to Donna. Suddenly, another officer stepped forward and ordered Claudette to stop playing. Claudette accidentally fell onto the piano. The pastor and Shanice stepped in to argue, but the officer stated that this wasn't a summer camp and they had to follow the rules. The group dispersed reluctantly. The pastor asked Claudette if she was hurt, but Claudette, not wanting to reveal her healing ability, quickly said she was fine. After she left, the pastor noticed a conspicuous bloodstain on the piano. Elsewhere, Keisha approached Jarl for a chat. She wanted to know why Jarl was helping Shanice so much. Jarl didn't want to say much, believing that the government system could corrupt good people, turning them into rule-following machines who do bad things in the name of their jobs. He revealed that his brother had disappeared, and on the day of his disappearance, Jarl had also seen the green light. This was why Jarl empathized with Shanice. He was a victim of this incident too. His words moved Keisha because her sister had been shot dead 5 years ago. She decided to help Jarl. At that moment, the TV broadcasted news about the green light incident. A total of 4,400 missing people had been found, indicating that someone had leaked the information. Meanwhile, Claudette confirmed with Shanice the reality of their ordeal. Now, Shanice believed that this group of people had been chosen by chance, possibly due to some unique abilities. To keep her super healing ability a secret, Claudette quickly changed the topic. Due to the exposure of the incident, Jessica had to hold a press conference to explain everything. She informed Keisha that they had invited an astronaut, suggesting that this incident might be related to aliens. Just then, the boy who hadn't spoken suddenly appeared behind Keisha. He asked Keisha to convey a message to Jarl that his brother is safe and sound. Keisha was incredulous at the news. The scene shifts to the pastor confessing to God, declaring that after this strange event, he had come to understand the mission God wanted to bestow upon him. Shanice's escape had prompted the guards to make a series of changes. First, they decided to monitor everyone strictly and stripped away all entertainment, implementing military-style management. Subsequently, everyone was summoned again by Keisha. She believed that someone had brought them here and erased their memories. Shanice, of course, did not reveal Mildred's superpower and instead used legal means to fight back. Being a carefree person, Donna just wanted to leave and change into a beautiful outfit. Mildred denied everything, and while Keisha and the others weren't paying attention, she used her power to knock over a water cup, seizing the opportunity to halt the interrogation. Keisha took the chance while Jarl was away to interrogate the mysterious boy, Hayden, alone. She asked why he said Jarl's brother was fine. Hayden was vague, saying he only overheard some people talking. He then shifted the topic to food, lamenting that his favorite candy had been taken by the guards. As for the pastor, he claimed he had always cooperated and asked Keisha to help him pass something to his girlfriend, which had been left at Belle Isle Park where they appeared. Keisha promised to find out his girlfriend's current address, but demanded that the pastor share all his secrets. They began to make a covert deal. It turned out the pastor had gotten a girlfriend pregnant years ago. However, she did not believe in God, causing his father to never accept her. The pastor had promised his girlfriend that he would change his father's views. With his eloquence, the pastor often raised significant funds for the church through impassioned speeches, earning his father's high praise. Seizing the opportunity of his father's good mood, he brought up the matter of his girlfriend. His father thought it was fine for them to have fun, but cautioned the pastor not to take it seriously. The pastor believed that one could worship God without necessarily marrying a believer, especially considering his father's profiteering from the church, which was also not in line with God's will. His father admitted that it was indeed not God's will, but rather fate bestowed by God. A few days later, the pastor's girlfriend confronted him again, accusing him of being enamored with the wealth and status granted by the church. She insisted that the pastor would never choose love over the church and was becoming more like his father every day. Determined to prove her wrong, the pastor argued with his father once more. He admitted that his girlfriend's accusation was accurate. Their family relied on the church for money and status, acting hypocritically. His father, however, staunchly defended their actions, claiming that establishing the church was God's will and that their mission brought hope to people. He added that wealth was merely a reward from God. Disappointed by his son's defiance, the father expressed his disapproval. Infuriated, the pastor decided to steal his father's invaluable ring. Flashback ends. Jarl found the interrogation pointless and argued with Keisha. Just then, interrogation expert Soraya joined the conversation. Analyzing their body language, she concluded that Shanice's escape was impulsive and that the 4,400 individuals had no idea what was happening to them, making the interrogation futile. Soraya suggested that their experiences aligned with rumors of alien abduction, which Keisha and Jarl dismissed as nonsense. Keisha ultimately decided to use Shanice's husband as an entry point. Keisha visited Shanice's husband, first asking if he had leaked information to the media. He denied it, bewildered by Shanice's sudden reappearance after 16 years. Keisha then spoke about Shanice's current situation, requesting his help to get the truth from her. Reluctant at first, he agreed when Keisha mentioned it could clear him of aiding Shanice's escape. Unbeknownst to them, their conversation was monitored by their daughter, Mariah. Shanice and her husband were arranged to meet privately. He reminisced about the past to lower her guard before abruptly asking for the truth. Shanice, unable to provide answers, insisted she never intended to abandon her family and wanted to see Mariah. Her husband, however, refused, fearing Shanice might disappear again and hurt Mariah. The conversation yielded no progress. Returning home, he found Mariah angrily waiting. She wanted to be the center of attention at school, given the 4,400 incident, and desperately wanted to meet her mother, but her father forbade it. At the hotel, Claudette gathered her group to further test her healing ability, asking Donna to break her finger. If she healed, it might be useful in future conflicts. Hesitant but compliant, Donna broke Claudette's finger, which healed instantly. Their astonishment was interrupted by an assembly alarm. Guards ordered everyone to wear GPS ankle monitors and gather daily for head counts. Moved, the music boy Noah began to sing, almost causing a clash with the guards. Treated like prisoners despite not doing anything wrong, discontent spread among the group. The next day, the same overbearing officer gathered everyone again, pleased with their compliance. Meanwhile, Donna and Noah learned the pastor planned to secretly take them back to Belle Isle Park. Suspicious of Donna and Claudette's secret meetings, the pastor was brushed off by Donna. Hayden noticed Noah sneaking snacks, leading to a plan. Noah took them to a food storage room they had discovered. Using her powers, Mildred unlocked the door, stunning Noah. They joyfully shared candy until a guard, lured by Noah's singing, interrupted them. Noah's voice made the guard crave candy, but once Noah stopped singing, the guard tried to stop them, revealing Noah's ability to control people through TikTok song. Elsewhere, the pastor discussed his plan to return to the island with Officer Keisha, suspecting he just wanted to retrieve something left there. Many believed returning would allow them to travel back in time, but Keisha doubted it. The pastor didn't deny it, but had another plan in mind. Meanwhile, a sleepless Shanice confided in Dr. Andre about her argument with her husband, unsure of what to do. Dr. Andre offered some comfort using his words only but not muscles. Shanice mentioned the pastor's plan to return to Belle Isle Park, hoping it would reunite her with her family. The doctor remained non-committal. The next day, during roll call, Claudette sang a freedom song, uplifting everyone. Ignoring the guard's orders to stop, they sang louder until a guard violently pushed Noah to the ground as a warning. The pastor intervened, but received a stern warning to follow their rules. Later, the pastor visited emotionally shaken Noah, who asked if the return plan could take them back in time. The pastor couldn't guarantee it, but claimed to understand God's mission, needing more information to help them. Trusting him, Noah revealed their powers. Privately, Officer Keisha comforted Hayden, explaining the guards' actions were for their safety. Hayden disagreed, believing the guards' brutality made them less safe, leaving Keisha at a loss for words. Keisha eventually found Jarrell. After the recent events, she decided to test the pastor's plan to return to Belle Isle, hoping to show her genuine desire to help everyone and possibly find some clues. That evening, Jessica would be taking most of the guards away for a secret mission, creating an opportunity for Keisha to execute the return plan. Jarrell showed Keisha a game he and his brother used to play called clock drawing. The reappearance of the 4,400 people had rekindled his hope of finding his brother. That night, Keisha followed the plan, while Hayden claimed he had a compelling reason to stay at the hotel and did not go with them. The group arrived at Belle Isle Park, but nothing happened. Only the pastor found his lost ring. Keisha informed the pastor that she had found his girlfriend and that she had given birth to his son. The pastor, however, said he had changed his mind and believed that God had other plans for him. He viewed their current situation as a warning from God. The pastor then gave a speech to the group, which Keisha recorded with a camcorder. At that moment, Noah secretly used his ability to sing a hypnotic song, causing Keisha and Jarrell to fall asleep, giving the pastor free rein. Mildred used her powers to make the pastor levitate. He proclaimed that everyone was chosen by God, each with their own abilities and missions, and that he was appointed by God to lead them. The group was captivated by his speech, except for Shanice, who warned them that the pastor was a dangerous man skilled in manipulation. After waking up, Keisha took everyone back to the hotel. She privately discussed with Jarrell what had happened and why they had fallen asleep. Soraya, who had temporarily disabled the ankle monitor tracking to facilitate their mission, wanted to join their conversation. She believed these people should not be confined because they had committed no crimes. This struck a chord with Keisha, who agreed to let Soraya officially join their efforts. The three of them reviewed the footage, but it glitched at the critical moment. Soraya decided to tinker with the recording later, while Keisha took on the task of dealing with Jessica. Back at the hotel, the pastor held his ring and reminisced about the past. He had stolen the ring from his father, intending to tell his girlfriend that he would never wear it because it symbolized the church's authority. However, before he could do so, he was taken away by the green light, separating him from his girlfriend. He believed this was a sign from God that he had chosen the wrong path. By putting on the ring now, he accepted God's plan, as his girlfriend had predicted, choosing faith over love. Meanwhile, Dr. Andre escorted Shanice back to her room without a kiss, but there seemed to be a spark between them. When Shanice opened the door, she found her daughter waiting for her inside. Jarrell, on the other hand, discovered a drawing of a clock he and his brother had made, suggesting that his brother might be sent here as well. The scene shifts to Donna, reminiscing about the miraculous events that night, feeling like she was watching a reality show. She tried to explain this to the other two, who were from a much earlier time and had no idea what a reality show was. Donna detailed everything to them, revealing that she knew so much about reality shows because she had once been a minor celebrity on TV. Meanwhile, Shanice found Mariah in her room. The mother and daughter were overjoyed and couldn't resist hugging each other. This hug triggered Shanice's superpower, causing her to see a sweet moment between Mariah and her stepmother, which startled Shanice. She quickly pushed Mariah away. Mariah asked about the letter Shanice wrote years ago, but Shanice, overwhelmed by her powers, couldn't explain. She hastily inquired about Mariah and her stepmother, but Mariah thought Shanice was trying to change the subject and left angrily. The next day, Shanice noticed more protesters downstairs, rallying for the 4,400 sudden people. Donna saw this as a good sign. Only a big commotion would give them a chance to regain their freedom. Through a young guard she had charmed, Donna learned that the government was planning a press conference to explain their situation. Donna, who excelled in front of the camera, remembered her college days when her mother tried to turn her into a star, even getting her an independent reality show. During filming, Donna had pointed out some dangerous wires near the roof, but was ignored. Later, after drinking too much, Donna watched her mother and aunt argue on camera to boost ratings, which left her feeling disillusioned. She couldn't recall what happened next, but she knew she had to become the spokesperson if there was a press conference. Their conversation was cut short by a corrupt police officer. The food had become increasingly bad, and Hayden couldn't stomach it. He ended up playing chess on paper with others. Noah ran over, having been secretly informed by Mildred that Hayden's birthday was approaching and they were planning a party for him. Hayden felt that being confined there was like being in prison and saw no reason to celebrate. Jarrell approached Soraya, asking if she had found out who drew the clock picture. Soraya checked the surveillance but found nothing. The three of them planned to attend the press conference. The person in charge of the conference turned out to be Jarrell's ex-girlfriend. She tasked Keisha, Jarrell, and Soraya with finding a spokesperson from the 4,400 to reassure the public. They were reluctant, but couldn't refuse. After the meeting, Jarrell and his ex-girlfriend caught up. Jarrell mentioned the clock drawing, but she dismissed it as a figment of Jarrell's inability to accept his brother's disappearance, a topic that had once caused their breakup. Their conversation ended in an argument. Jessica found Jarrell and demanded he declare everything was fine in public as a volunteer, or he would be fired. Reluctantly, Jarrell agreed, not wanting to lose any clues about his brother. Keisha and Jarrell began interviewing candidates to represent the 4,400. Each person showcased their unique abilities, but all were rejected. Mildred lacked speaking skills. Claudette refused to work for free. Hayden remained silent, and Shanice used legal arguments to protest their situation. Only Donna quietly waited for her chance, believing that if Keisha and Jarrell couldn't find a spokesperson, she could jump in and make more demands, like getting her phone back. Claudette rolled her eyes at this, questioning if lying to the public was worth it. They saw the pastor gathering followers to prepare for Hayden's birthday. Claudette, who had a dislike for pastors due to her ex-husband, was approached by the pastor for help in planning the party. She rolled her eyes and walked away. Meanwhile, Dr. Andre was doing a follow-up check on Noah's wound. Noah began to share his past, revealing that he was a transgender person. Due to frequent discrimination, he generally disliked medical personnel. Dr. Andre, who had time-traveled from a much earlier time period, was hearing about transgender people for the first time and exclaimed that Noah was nothing short of a miracle. Noah then mentioned that he was almost out of his hormone medication. Dr. Andre promised to find a way to get more. That night, Shanice found Dr. Andre for another chat. The doctor expressed a desire to escape the hotel, partly to find medication for Noah and partly because the guards were becoming increasingly hostile. If they discovered their superpowers, things would get even worse. Shanice confessed that she also seemed to have awakened a superpower, but it was uncontrollable, which had led to her falling out with her daughter. Dr. Andre comforted her, saying that both superpowers and motherhood required practice. The current situation didn't matter. What was important was the effort she put in. Meanwhile, Mariah wanted to see the letter her mother had written years ago. She accidentally let slip that she had met with her mother. Her father was furious about her secret contact with Shanice. To dissuade Mariah, he gave her the letter. The next day, Jarrell continued interviewing candidates for the spokesperson role. Dr. Andre said he didn't want to be a spokesperson, but needed medical books to update his knowledge. His inability to help Noah was frustrating him. Jarrell promised to bring some books and medicine. Keisha was still stressed about finding a spokesperson. At that moment, Donna volunteered. Good in front of cameras, she agreed to speak for the government on the condition that she got her phone back. Mysteriously, as soon as she mentioned the phone, it appeared on a nearby table. However, when Keisha turned to look, it vanished again. It seemed Donna's superpower had awakened. Keisha agreed to let her use the phone twice a week, but needed to consult Jessica. They struck a deal, and with time running out, Donna quickly prepared herself. She felt she needed a necklace to complete her look, and her superpower activated again, making a necklace appear around her neck. Donna was both surprised and delighted. Claudette condemned Donna's betrayal to the others. Just then, they saw guards taking Noah away. They confronted the guards, who claimed Noah needed to come with them to get his medication. It was clear the government didn't want the media to see Noah's injured face. Before leaving, Dr. Andre reminded Noah not to reveal his powers. Meanwhile, Donna, now acting as the government's spokesperson, told the media that the 4,400 were living happily and the government was treating them well. Donna's quick wit and eloquence managed to sway the media, but Jarrell, as a family member of a missing person, couldn't lie for the government. He suddenly revealed that the 4,400 were very unhappy with their forced confinement. Donna quickly intervened, diverting the media's attention. Jarrell's actions put his ex-girlfriend at risk of being reprimanded by the mayor. She was furious and ignored Jarrell's apology, storming off. After it was all over, Donna demanded that Jessica keep her promise and give her the phone. Jessica reneged, saying she couldn't give Donna the phone. Feeling down, Jarrell went to his brother's room as usual and found Officer Keisha there. Jarrell wanted to know how she had coped with the trauma of her sister's murder. Keisha advised him to focus on helping the 4,400, which would in turn help other families of missing persons like his. The next day, Mariah's father took her to meet Shanice again. Mariah read the farewell letter Shanice had written years ago. Shanice broke down in tears, explaining that she had written it due to postpartum depression and begged Mariah for another chance. Moved, Mariah agreed to try accepting her biological mother. Meanwhile, Jarrell delivered the medical books to Dr. Andre as promised, explaining that they belonged to his missing brother. Dr. Andre was very grateful. Meanwhile, Soraya recognized Donna and took her privately to the office to watch her old reality TV show. As Donna watched the footage, she remembered the events of those days. She had been frustrated with her mother's fake behavior, but her mother didn't care at all. Seeing Donna cry only made her mother think it was great for dramatic effect. Drunk and angry, Donna stormed off the set. While adjusting the rooftop antenna, she accidentally fell, but a flash of green light transported her to Belle Island just in time. Fueled by rage, Donna watched the hotel's surveillance footage in the file folder and decided to take action. She edited all the recent negative events into a video and sent it to Mariah, asking her to spread it. Mariah quickly added a bunch of tags and posted it on social media, causing a huge stir. That evening, the pastor had set up for Hayden's birthday party. Everyone gathered to celebrate. Using her power, Donna lit the candles, and the group found some joy amidst their struggles, giving Hayden a memorable birthday. Mildred made a chess set from jars and bottles as a gift, and Hayden excitedly hugged her but quickly let go. Mildred, however, generously kissed him, making it probably the happiest birthday Hayden had ever had. Elsewhere, Keisha asked Jessica to speak to the mayor on Jarrell's behalf, ensuring he kept his job. Keisha acknowledged that Jarrell had made valid points during the press conference, leading to a heated argument between the two. They decided to take a break from each other to cool down. Meanwhile, Dr. Andre asked Donna about some modern concepts. As they browsed the book Jarrell had given them, they found a piece of paper inside with some old computer code written on it. They believed it was highly relevant to the missing 4,400 people. They continued discussing their progress, with Donna needing more relevant books to decode the information. She also told Dr. Andre that she had created a viral video exposing the events happening there, which should soon yield results. Dr. Andre wanted to study those with superpowers further. Donna's ability was creating illusions, and Dr. Andre noticed her heart rate slowed when she used her power. He planned to test more people next. Donna's leaked video put the government in a tough spot. Under public pressure, Jessica planned to release some people back into society for a day as a trial. Regarding the rumors of them being time travelers, the government decided to neither confirm nor deny and hoped to muddle through. Jarrell saw it as a mere PR move, but Jessica argued it was a significant step for the detained 4,400 people. Keisha and Jarl went to inform everyone about the plan. Dr. Andre volunteered, but Jarrell said the higher-ups had randomly selected 4 people: the pastor, Shanice, Donna, and Claudette. It seemed suspicious that all the chosen ones were troublemakers. To placate Dr. Andre, Jarl took him to the hotel bar, allowing him to conduct his research there, and promised to get him involved next time. Dr. Andre reluctantly agreed. Jarl then received an urgent call and left. It turned out Soraya had been arrested, suspected of leaking the surveillance footage. Keisha confronted Jessica, but Jessica insisted she was just following protocol. Jarl is set to act as a tour guide for the pastor and Donna tomorrow. He asks them in advance where they'd like to go. The pastor wants to find out about his son and visit a church, while Donna prefers to go to the library. Meanwhile, Mildred demonstrates a new use for her abilities to Hayden, unlocking the shackles without being tracked. Dr. Andre calls them over to continue researching superpowers. Mildred extends her hand, revealing she has a naturally split palm. To gain their trust, Dr. Andre shares his past. Back in 1920, bronchial infections were often fatal, and Dr. Andre was researching a cure. He tells them his experiments on mice had succeeded, and he was close to making history. Dr. Andre had a girlfriend, but his work often kept them apart. One rare evening, he joined her for a dance. Later, his professor raised funds for human clinical trials, but intended to take all the credit, treating Dr. Andre as an insignificant assistant. They argued, and given the low social status of colored-skinned people at the time, Dr. Andre couldn't win. He decided to work independently, taking his research home so he could spend more time with his girlfriend. One night she began coughing, and Dr. Andre, fearing she had a bronchial infection, was very worried, but she assured him it was nothing. Back to the present, Shanice visits Dr. Andre to check on his progress, but the preliminary research hasn't yielded any conclusions. The doctor envies Shanice's chance for a day out and asks why she didn't choose to see her daughter. Shanice explains that their relationship has just started to improve and she doesn't want to risk it. Seeing her ex-husband would also be awkward. The mention of her husband causes them to change the subject, agreeing to meet again later. Dr. Andre watches her leave, feeling a twinge of regret. The next day, Claudette and Shanice team up to visit Shanice's neighbor. Donna and the pastor, being social butterflies, are excited to meet the media and eagerly engage with them. Claudette and Shanice are amazed by modern Detroit, barely believing it's the city they once knew. They marvel at everything like country bumpkins in the big city. Keisha starts to believe they might truly be time travelers. The neighbor warmly welcomes them in, chatting about the changes over the years. Keisha steps out to make a call, seeing everything as normal. Shanice decides to reveal her power to the neighbor, hoping the community can help. She explains that by touching her daughter, she can see sweet moments between her daughter and her stepmother. The neighbor, not understanding superpowers, advises Shanice not to worry. Time will reveal everything about Mariah. Then she asks what Claudette's ability is. Claudette decides to demonstrate with a candle. Meanwhile, Jarl takes the pastor and Donna to the library, joined by his ex-girlfriend who's in charge of PR. Jarl tries to win her over. The girl, once committed to the truth and having clashed with many journalists, is now more pragmatic, needing to make a living and not interested in Jarl's idealism. Jarl teaches the pastor how to use a computer to search for family information. Donna grabs a computer book and uses her illusion ability to disguise it as a fashion magazine to avoid revealing her research. The pastor discovers his father has been exploiting his disappearance to raise money through a foundation, and his son has distanced himself from the family, declaring shame on their greed. Furious, the pastor shuts down the computer and leaves. Officer Keisha calls Jarl to update him, and they agree that everything seems normal. Keisha reluctantly admits that reintegrating them into society might be a good idea. Then she turns to see Claudette burning her hand and rushes inside. Claudette heals the burn instantly, demonstrating her ability to the neighbor. By the time Keisha arrives, Claudette is completely unharmed. Meanwhile, Dr. Andre begins working with Hayden, whose ability is to foresee the future. At that moment, Hayden has a vision of receiving flowers in the future. Dr. Andre, seeing this, jokes that Hayden must be a romantic and offers to teach him how to date, provided Hayden helps with his research. They quickly come to an agreement. Next, Dr. Andre studies Mildred's abilities. Mildred expresses that she doesn't want to leave. She has friends at the hotel and her own room, which is better than her previous life. The doctor dismissively agrees while upgrading the experiment, asking Mildred to control 4 bottles simultaneously. Mildred does this effortlessly. However, when Dr. Andre touches her carotid artery, Mildred becomes very resistant. On his second attempt, she becomes so agitated that she shatters the chandelier, covering the floor with glass shards. Keisha learns about this incident and blames Jarrell for giving Dr. Andre too much freedom. The mysterious Claudette and a series of strange events make her reconsider if reintegrating them into society is a good idea, but Jarrell thinks she's overreacting and tells her not to worry. Hayden is upset when he learns Mildred is hurt. Despite Dr. Andre's assurances that she's fine, Hayden believes the doctor only cares about his experiments and not about the people involved. Angrily, he leaves. Later, Donna gives Hayden some medical books borrowed from the library. Dr. Andre finds information on his bronchial disease research in these books, reminding him of past mistakes. He recalls securing a clinical trial spot for his girlfriend to cure her, but she felt he saw her only as a test subject rather than someone he genuinely cared for. They argued. Dr. Andre convinced his research could cure her, while she believed he valued his work more than her. After their quarrel, a green light flashed and Dr. Andre was transported to the present day. Jarrell apologizes to his ex-girlfriend for morally pressuring her. She softens upon hearing the apology and shares that the mayor leans towards reintegrating everyone into society, but the federal government remains silent, possibly hiding crucial facts. In the evening, Claudette picks flowers to comfort Hayden. Hayden realizes this matches the vision he had earlier and laments his ability to foresee but not alter events, feeling he could have prevented Mildred's injury otherwise. Claudette reassures him, saying strong Mildred wouldn't be fazed by a little injury. Meanwhile, Officer Keisha watches a video and seemingly sees Claudette setting herself on fire. Jessica then reveals the truth. The government purposely released these troublemakers to distract from previous controversies. Keisha is exasperated but decides not to argue with Jessica over work. Instead, she invites Jessica to sit with her, and they decide to spend a sweet evening together. The scene shifts to Dr. Andre confessing to Shanice. He admits neglecting his girlfriend's feelings for the sake of his research, and now repeating his mistakes with Mildred. Shanice wants to hug him, but fears her ability might invade his privacy. Unexpectedly, the doctor confesses his feelings to Shanice and offers his hand for her to see his secrets. Shanice then witnesses the aftermath of Noah's confession about being transgender. Dr. Andre reveals he also has a gender identity opposite to his biological sex but still loves Shanice. They summon the courage and tongue massage each other. Later, Dr. Andre goes to the hotel bar and spots the white mouse he used in his experiments, realizing it was also transported to the present. Following the mouse, he discovers a hidden door, hinting at more mysteries. Keisha visits her late sister's home. Since her sister's death, she has rarely checked on her nieces, often citing work as an excuse. Before leaving, she learns that the person responsible for her sister's death wants to apologize in person. Keisha vehemently refuses, saying she could never forgive them. Memories of her sister flood back. Growing up, they often did small jobs to support the family. They even performed street dances to attract customers, with Keisha in her bright yellow outfit dancing the hardest. Her sister was a go-getter, deciding to open a cafe with her husband, a decision Keisha opposed, feeling her brother-in-law was unreliable. This led to a heated argument between the sisters, ending in a fallout. Back in the present, Keisha returns to her office. Soraya, having been cleared of any wrongdoing, is released. A leading agent from the federal government arrives. The video incident has caused significant repercussions, and they need to handle the 4,400 people swiftly. They agree to let some return home, provided they check in periodically. They now need to determine who wants to return home and who needs government assistance. Claudette begins selecting housing, and Donna secretly tells her that leaking the video was her doing. Both are thrilled. However, minors like Hayden must remain under supervision at the hotel. Elsewhere, Shanice runs into Dr. Andre. Since their smelly kiss, there's been some awkwardness between them. The doctor tries to break the ice by offering a surprise, taking Shanice to the hidden door they discovered earlier, which leads outside the hotel. As they walk through the city, everything fascinates these two time-displaced individuals. Dr. Andre nearly bumps into someone, but Shanice catches him just in time, sparking a moment of connection. Shanice quickly changes the topic, and they pass by a party for the LGBTQ community. Shanice suggests they join the party. Despite the lively atmosphere, Shanice feels uneasy, having recently married her husband. Dr. Andre assures her that he only wants to create good memories with her. Touched, Shanice takes his hand, and they share a smile. Meanwhile, the father faces his own troubles. His daughter Mariah wants Shanice to move back in with them, causing tension with her stepmother. After some insistence from Mariah, her stepmother agrees. The father then receives a call indicating someone has traced the video leak back to Mariah. Keisha and Jarrell go to collect documents for those granted bail. Keisha still harbors doubts about releasing some individuals, which Jarrell doesn't understand, leading to an argument. Keisha feels these people are suspicious, while Jarrell accuses her of siding with the government. Despite their disagreement, Jarl takes Claudette for a drive, revealing his missing brother's story. This shared trauma makes him empathize with the 4,400. Claudette feels a bit guilty for hiding the truth about their powers from someone so dedicated. Unaware of her thoughts, Jarl even lets her drive. Jarl then receives a call requiring his immediate attention. With plenty of time left for Claudette's outing, they go together. Jarl reveals he keeps his missing brother's apartment as a memorial, but now the landlord is renting it out. To lift his spirits, Claudette changes the subject, mentioning she rarely gets alone time except when her husband is away, which she uses to dance at home. Inspired, Jarl decides to take her to a bar to relax. Meanwhile, Soraya is ordered to distribute phones to everyone. When it's Donna's turn, the atmosphere turns tense. Soraya knows Donna leaked the video, causing her wrongful arrest. Brazenly, Donna asks for help decoding a mysterious book. Having suffered enough, Soraya decides to ignore her. Meanwhile, Keisha remains persistent, convinced there is a connection between her coma on Belle Isle and Claudette's previous fire incident. She tries to get information from Hayden, but he keeps his smelly mouth shut, not mentioning anything about superpowers. With no new leads, Keisha heads to Shanice's husband's home to inspect the living conditions. She is greeted by the stepmother, who understands she should warmly welcome Shanice, but is worried that Shanice might bring more trouble. This resonates with Keisha's own concerns. Shanice, in fact, runs into trouble back at the hotel when she encounters her ex-husband and daughter. The atmosphere turns tense. Dr. Andre leaves first, and Mariah is summoned by the National Security Bureau because of the video. She is unaware of the gravity of the situation. The man, after sending their daughter away, blames Shanice for putting Mariah in danger and states he doesn't want her moving back in to create more problems. Before Shanice can explain, the man walks off. Later, Keisha and the group head to a bar to unwind. Given recent events, Shanice no longer has the courage to move in with her daughter and ex-husband. She understands that her long disappearance makes her husband's remarriage understandable, but she still struggles to accept it emotionally. Keisha is also having a tough day. As they enjoy their time, they are recognized because of the video incident. While some people offer drinks, others hurl insults, calling them freaks. A confrontation ensues, escalating to physical violence. Claudette fights back but gets injured. Keisha notices Claudette's wounds healing rapidly. In the ensuing chaos, Keisha decides to take everyone back to the hotel. Meanwhile, a belligerent guard barges into Hayden's room to confiscate the chessboard given to him by Mildred. Despite Hayden's pleas, the guard ignores him, leaving him in despair as he watches the guard leave. Jarl wants to know if there have been any new discoveries regarding the Belle Isle incident. Soraya reviews the footage, but finds nothing unusual aside from someone singing. Jarl wishes to investigate further, but Soraya, worn out from being interrogated over the leaked video, wants nothing more to do with it. Later, Donna approaches Soraya to apologize sincerely. As an outsider, being dragged away by national security made her colleagues suspect her of treason. Despite this, Soraya remains committed to helping the 4,400, as their situation mirrors her own past. She warns Donna to be cautious, noting that America is now more dangerous than ever. The two reconcile and decide to move forward together. Keisha learns that her brother-in-law has agreed to meet her sister's killer and storms over in anger. He explains that he hopes forgiving the killer will help Keisha find closure. Keisha argues that this decision shows he never truly loved her sister, leading to a heated argument. Her brother-in-law drops a bombshell. Her sister was killed while buying a bench for the cafe that Keisha had wanted. Keisha's inability to move on and her emotional imprisonment is exactly what her late sister wouldn't have wanted. Deeply hurt, Keisha confides in Jarl, mentioning Claudette's rapid healing, suggesting she might have superpowers. Jarl realizes that the Belle Isle incident might also be the work of individuals with superpowers. Now the question is, how should they deal with these people? The next day, Jarl took Claudette to an apartment rented by the government. Taking this opportunity, Jarl hinted that he was aware of Claudette's superpowers, but assured her that they would keep it a secret. This put Claudette at ease. Meanwhile, Keisha found Hayden and suggested he move in with Mariah's family, as Shanice had decided not to return. Having just been harassed by the guards, Hayden was eager to leave. After some persuasion from her brother-in-law, Keisha decided to open her heart and protect others. She called her brother-in-law, expressing her willingness to let go of the past and allow him to meet the killer. Shortly after, Jessica angrily informed Keisha that the leading agent had taken her place, and while the agent appeared to release people, he was secretly still tracking them. The next day, Hayden moved into Shanice's home, where Mariah warmly welcomed him and wanted to take him out for a walk. However, Hayden wasn't planning to live peacefully. He wanted to rescue Mildred first, and barely paid attention to what Mariah was saying. Suddenly, his power activated, and he foresaw Mildred being sedated in a research lab. Just as he was about to go rescue her, Mariah's father entered the room, interrupting the conversation. Hayden flattered the man's cooking skills, making him very happy. After this, Hayden and Mariah resolved to go rescue Mildred. Meanwhile, Dr. Andre and Donna were discussing their future plans. Donna suggested that he and Shanice should run away together, but Dr. Andre was purposely avoiding Shanice. At this moment, Hayden visited, seeking their help to rescue Mildred. He had already devised a rescue plan through his premonitions. Hayden needed Donna's illusion abilities and Dr. Andre's medical knowledge. However, they thought Hayden was overthinking and didn't want to complicate things right when they were about to gain their freedom. Feeling helpless, Hayden recalled his past. He was an only child, and his father had left before he was born. Without a father's guidance, he grew up somewhat timid and was often bullied by a condescending uncle, needing his mother to rescue him every time. His mother hoped he would become strong, as she had to play both parental roles. Once, when his mother was out on business, she returned to find that his aunt had made dinner that Hayden was allergic to. Timid as he was, Hayden didn't dare to offend anyone and went hungry without saying a word. Despite this, his mother encouraged him and used baking to teach him how to solve problems. Later, when his mother had to leave for a week, she left Hayden in his uncle's care, encouraging him to be a brave man. Unfortunately, this departure was their final goodbye. Back in the present, Hayden, seeing that Dr. Andre and Donna were unwilling to help, left without saying much. They discussed further, realizing that Mildred's hospitalization was indirectly caused by Dr. Andre, and Noah had been in confinement for a long time. Given Hayden's desperate demeanor, they feared he might cause trouble, so they decided it was better to keep an eye on him. Just then, Hayden returned, having foreseen that they would help. To rescue Mildred, they first needed to sneak in and find the green door he had envisioned. Meanwhile, as the 4,400 were about to be released, Keisha and Jarrell were worried. Based on the series of strange events they had encountered, they feared that Claudette wasn't the only one with superpowers. They decided to keep this information from the government to prevent further detentions. Keisha was concerned that their superpowers might hinder their reintegration into society and wanted to help them. Due to the unique situation of these 4,400 people, the pastor's preaching over the past few days has been very effective. The followers have been pouring out their troubles to him, and many do not want to leave. For some who have homes to return to, freedom is a blessing. But for those from distant times who are very unfamiliar with modern civilization, it's better to stay together in the hotel than to live alone outside. The pastor hoped that Shanice could help communicate with higher authorities to allow them to stay. Shanice came up with an idea for the pastor. If they declared this place as their sanctuary, a spiritual church, the government would think twice before trying to force them out. Thus, the pastor decided to establish his headquarters there. At the same time, Dr. Andre was investigating the hospital. Pretending to be on a tour, he asked Jarrell to take him inside and inquire about Mildred and Noah. The receptionist said they were secretly held in another location, off limits to outsiders. Even Jarrell, despite being a related official, had no access. Dr. Andre acted fascinated, looking around while actually searching for the crucial green door. To his surprise, the green door was conspicuously nearby, but required a password to open. Dr. Andre discreetly photographed everything with his phone. Meanwhile, Hayden got Mariah to find medical uniforms and other communication tools needed for their infiltration. Mariah would be the driver this time, though she was nervous as she didn't have a license. Hayden reassured her, saying this mission was imperative for Mildred's sake. When Dr. Andre returned, he handed the footage to the others. Using high-tech gadgets for the first time made him very excited, but Donna noticed he had used the front-facing camera, capturing only his own smug face and not the crucial password. Hayden suddenly thought of asking Shanice to use her superpower to retrieve the images from Dr. Andre's memory. Although the relationship between Dr. Andre and Shanice was awkward, he couldn't resist Hayden's pleading and asked Shanice for help. Shanice was drinking with Officer Keisha, hoping she could help the believers who didn't want to leave the hotel. Keisha suggested they should be honest about their superpowers so she could help them better. Shanice firmly denied this and changed the subject. Just then, Dr. Andre approached Shanice, asking her to use her abilities to recall the password from his memory. Unable to refuse his plea, Shanice used her power and found the green door's password, also seeing the doctor witnessing her confessing her love for her husband in her sleep. She finally understood why Dr. Andre had been avoiding her. After writing down the password, Dr. Andre left silently. The next day, Keisha and Jarrell met up. Keisha suggested that since the adults were tight-lipped, they could try asking the younger Mildred and Noah at the hospital. Meanwhile, the trio disguised as medical staff infiltrated the hospital. Donna used her illusion ability to transform into a man. Dr. Andre donned a lab coat, and Hayden lay on a bed pretending to be a patient. Behind the green door, the place resembled a prison more than a hospital. The trio split up, with Donna heading to the control room to coordinate, and the other two following her instructions. Donna used illusions to deceive the computer security checks and began searching the facility's map. Hayden and Dr. Andre hid in a room, but Hayden was gripped by fear as it reminded him of the place where his uncle had confined him after his mother left, where he was tortured until a green light saved him. Dr. Andre calmed Hayden down, reminding him that Mildred was still waiting for their rescue and that he couldn't break down now. Thinking of Mildred, Hayden managed to regain his composure. Meanwhile, Donna found the map and the team communicated via radio. Outside, Mariah, who was waiting to pick them up, ran into trouble. A police officer noticed her expired license plate and asked for her driver's license. With no other option, Mariah called her father. Inside, Donna directed the others while copying the facility's data onto a USB drive. Hayden, using his foresight, warned them of an approaching guard, guiding Donna to another route. They reached the superpower containment cells, encountering various powered individuals like a winged birdman and a fire-breathing man, each restrained by specialized measures. It was clear the government had long been aware of superpowers and had been conducting inhumane research. They arrived near Mildred's cell, guarded by 2 sentries. Dr. Andre mimicked a bird call, making the guards think there was trouble with the birdman, causing them to turn around. At that moment, Mildred was brought out, blindfolded and bound to suppress her powers. The duo was at a loss, but suddenly Jessica appeared, ordering the guards to leave the sedative behind. It was actually Donna in disguise. They quickly freed the tortured Mildred, who finally gained her freedom. Just then, a guard appeared, and Mildred, in a fit of revenge, used her powers to slam him into the wall, breaking his limbs with telekinesis. Unable to calm her down, Donna had to sedate her, revealing this was the scene Hayden had foreseen. Dr. Andre checked on the severely injured guard, and upon touching him, the guard's body suddenly healed, indicating that this might be Dr. Andre's superpower. With no time to rescue Noah, they decided to get Mildred out first. As they exited, they ran into Keisha, who recognized Donna's disguised voice. Mariah had already informed her father, and they arrived to pick everyone up. After much hesitation, Keisha let them go. At the same time, Shanice was helping the pastor live stream their gathering. The pastor recklessly had a member display a green light with their powers, claiming they were chosen ones, and taunting the agent beside him. The agent, however, showed no ill will and expressed interest in cooperating with the pastor on some matters. They stepped aside to discuss this further. Shanice soon encountered the returning group and was furious to find her daughter involved. However, her ex-husband, impressed by Hayden, defended him, leaving Shanice speechless. In the hotel, Mariah sought out Mildred for a chat. It seemed Mildred had endured severe mistreatment at the hospital and was reluctant to talk about it, though she spoke highly of Hayden, both agreeing he was very brave. Keisha demanded an explanation, and Dr. Andre revealed the government knew about superpowers and was imprisoning and experimenting on those with abilities. It appeared Jessica hadn't told Keisha everything. The group suspected the government had ulterior motives for letting them go. Hayden, having foreseen Mildred's departure, came to see her off. Mildred mentioned she had someone she had to save and asked Hayden to use his power to see if she would succeed. Hayden saw her leading a group of armed fighters but lied, saying he saw nothing. They parted reluctantly. After that, Jarrell handed over his brother's apartment to Claudette to take care of. One day, Jarrell visited Claudette, finding the place spotless. Claudette mentioned she was looking for a job, and Jarrell introduced her to a bar where she started working as a waitress. Her co-worker was a misogynistic and extreme character, refusing to take orders from female customers. That day, security guards came to the bar and mentioned the strange abilities of the 4400. This made the already hostile co-worker even more discriminatory towards Claudette, reminding her of her ex-husband. Her ex-husband was a polished social activist leading people's sit-ins, but he had a hidden side. Claudette believed that sit-ins couldn't change their situation and wanted to push her ex-husband towards more aggressive actions. During that era, women had low status, and her ex-husband ignored her ideas, using her merely as a photographer. Claudette publicly contradicted him, urging everyone to take radical action, and her suggestion was well received. However, her chauvinistic ex-husband couldn't stand her stealing his spotlight and used conservative religious beliefs to quash the idea. Furious, he sent her to a mental institution as punishment. Claudette begged for mercy, but he remained unmoved. Fortunately, a flash of green light rescued her just in time. Back to the present, Shanice furiously confronted Dr. Andre, questioning why he let her daughter get involved in their affairs. Dr. Andre, looking sickly, could barely speak, so Shanice held back her anger and told him to rest. Later, Keisha informed Shanice that the government hadn't pursued any action for their hospital break-in and was willing to let the pastor's followers stay at the hotel, but they had to sign a very favorable contract. Shanice was suspicious, and Keisha, equally puzzled, decided to probe Jessica for more information. The unsupervised, delirious doctor stumbled downstairs to seek help from a guard, who mocked him. Dr. Andre accidentally fell onto the guard, unintentionally using his power, severing the guard's arm on the spot and knocking him unconscious. Terrified, he sought Shanice's help. Shanice speculated that Dr. Andre had a damage transfer ability, transferring the injuries of the hospital guard to the new guard. His severe illness could also be due to this power, and to verify this, they needed Claudette's help. Meanwhile, Donna sought Soraya's help to get a computer and check the stolen hospital files. Soraya was hesitant, but eventually agreed because she was a fan of Donna's reality show. Soraya gossiped about Donna's show family, and through their conversation, Donna expressed a preference for her pragmatic father over her reality show-obsessed mother. She planned to leave the hotel and live with her dad after organizing the hospital data. From Jessica, Officer Keisha learned that the blood tests of the 4,400 were different from normal people. Just as Keisha pressed for more details, Jessica realized Keisha's ploy, breaking up with her on the spot. The next day, Shanice and Dr. Andre found Claudette and demonstrated the injury transfer ability. Dr. Andre's and Claudette's powers were a perfect match. The doctor could transfer injuries and she could heal rapidly. Together, they formed a perpetual motion machine, transferring Dr. Andre's ailments away, restoring his health. In gratitude, he agreed to help Claudette scare her misogynistic co-worker. The following day, a group of 4,400 members arrived at the bar. The co-worker stood in the middle, openly insulting the superpowered individuals. The bar owner appeared just in time, firing him on the spot, saving his life. With the villain gone, the crowd cheered. In the lively atmosphere, people began pairing up and mingling. Dr. Andre tried to reconcile with Shanice, but she made excuses to avoid him. Soraya, aware of Keisha's breakup, confessed her interest in her. The two exchanged flirtatious glances. Jarl gave Claudette a gift, and their fingers touched while drinking, revealing mutual affection. After the party, Dr. Andre formally apologized to Shanice, and they shared heartfelt confessions, leading to a passionate night together. Jarl and Claudette also consummated their relationship, embracing each other tightly. Meanwhile, Keisha had Soraya pinned in front of the computer, bending her to her will. The next day, Dr. Andre went to find Donna, only to discover she had already left the hotel to reunite with her father. She left a video message on the computer, saying goodbye and explaining how to access the stolen files from the hospital. Meanwhile, Shanice, who was a lawyer, took advantage of her intimate time with Dr. Andre the previous night to review the government contract. She found hidden clauses that would allow the government to take full control of the 4,400's freedom. However, the pastor was strongly urging his followers to sign the contract. A few days later, the leading agent was preparing to hold a meet and greet with those people. Ostensibly, it was to help the public understand them better, but it concealed a much darker plot. Jarrell's ex-girlfriend wanted Shanice to bring her whole family on camera to show that the 4,400 families were just ordinary people, thereby alleviating public concerns. Shanice questioned the pastor about why he was siding with the government agent. After Shanice explained the hidden government takeover clauses, the pastor realized the gravity of the situation. Worse still, Dr. Andre, trying to prevent the government from repeating Mildred's tragedy, had decided to sign the contract to stay and care for them. Shanice, heartbroken, hugged him. Just then, Shanice's ex-husband appeared, and she quickly pulled away from Dr. Andre, creating an awkward atmosphere. The man wanted to take Mariah on a vacation and needed Shanice's signature as the biological mother. Dr. Andre, feeling like a backup option, was visibly upset. Later, the meet-and-greet staff asked Shanice and her ex-husband to pretend to be a happy family for the event. Shanice hesitated, but Jarl believed that public understanding was crucial for the 4,400's safety. Reluctantly, Shanice agreed. Meanwhile, Shanice's ex-husband attended a support group for families of the missing and found Officer Keisha there as a new member, sharing her story about her missing sister. He also shared his confusion about reuniting with Shanice. When the group learned he was related to a 4,400 member, they were hostile, causing chaos. He had to leave the meeting. Later, Shanice invited him to the meet and greet over the phone. He found it absurd being discriminated against because of her, now having to pretend to be a happy family. He needed time to think. After Shanice was taken by the green light years ago, he had fallen into despair, unable to move on despite his neighbor's advice to accept reality. Now, facing this situation again was daunting. Keisha caught up to encourage him, suggesting that reuniting with Shanice was fate. She said she would give anything to see her missing sister again, which moved him deeply. At the same time, Dr. Andre went to Claudette's place to search for more mysterious codes left by Jarl's brother. Their girlfriends were both 4,400 members, and the two men shared their uncertainties about their new relationships but didn't reach any conclusions. Dr. Andre eventually found the codes he was looking for, suspecting they might help Jarl find his missing brother. The next day, the 4,400 meet and greet began. Dr. Andre noticed that the fireman who had been detained in the hospital was present, obviously part of the agent's plan. Shanice realized the agent's intention to reveal the 4,400's abilities publicly, thereby activating the contract clauses to legally contain them. She urgently discussed this with Keisha. It seemed the leading agent wanted to expose the 4,400's powers to justify their containment. Shanice then confronted the pastor, who insisted he was acting in everyone's best interest, though he hadn't anticipated the agent's treachery. Meanwhile, Jarrell and Keisha learned from the fireman that the leading agent had made a deal with him. If he demonstrated his powers publicly, he would be set free. The meet and greet live stream begins. First on stage was the pastor. Given the circumstances, he had no choice but to reluctantly speak well of the government. Just then, Shanice's ex-husband arrived with the whole family and asked to speak with Shanice privately. He admitted his jealousy upon seeing her with Dr. Andre and confessed that he had never recovered from the trauma of her disappearance. Shanice got excited, thinking he wanted to reconcile, but he clarified that he only wanted to have a proper farewell to bring closure to the past 16 years. He encouraged Shanice to let go of the past and move forward with her life before walking away. Shanice grabbed him, seeing the pain he had endured searching for her, and finally understood how difficult his life had been. She decided to let him go. Meanwhile, the agent realized the fireman was missing and ordered a search. Suddenly, Mildred appeared behind him, using her powers to retaliate against the agent, demanding her sister's release. In her fury, she threw him out of a window, crashing into the live stream below. Mildred almost used her powers to execute the leading agent on camera, but the pastor intervened just in time. Mildred tried to eliminate the pastor with her powers, but they suddenly failed, forcing her to flee in the chaos. The crowd panicked and scattered. Shanice's husband went to see Hayden, whom he had come to see as his own child, and reassured him despite Hayden's regret for not leaving with Mildred, which led to the current incident. Shanice's husband comforted him and took him home. Shanice quickly informed Dr. Andre about the major incident during the live stream, warning that the government would soon take over and enforce the contract on the 4,400. Dr. Andre, however, was preoccupied with his feelings due to Shanice's husband's arrival. All he wanted now was to spend time alone with Shanice. Mildred threw the leading agent out of a window during the live stream, causing an uproar. The meet and greet that was supposed to rehabilitate the 4,400's image backfired, turning public opinion against them and branding them as public enemies. Learning of Mildred's actions, Jessica called a meeting and decided to activate the contract clauses, taking full control of the signatory travelers, confining them on the spot, and subjecting them to medical examinations. The hard-earned freedom of the 4,400 was once again lost to the government's trap. The congregation was deeply unsettled, and the pastor, who had advocated for signing the agreement, was racked with guilt. Shanice urged him not to lose heart, emphasizing the need to help the travelers escape the government's clutches. She proposed restarting the shelter operation, turning the hotel into the pastor's church, making it a sanctuary beyond government interference. However, the pastor, now deeply insecure, questioned his faith. He had believed the 4,400 were chosen by God and their powers were divine gifts, but his newfound ability to nullify these powers made him fear he might be their enemy instead. Elsewhere, Jarl noticed another clock pattern on the wall, indicating his brother might be in the hotel. Jessica then called Jarl in and fired him. Jarl threatened to expose the government's illegal experiments to the media, but Jessica was unfazed. Such exposure would only confirm the existence of the traveler's powers, driving the fearful public to rely even more on the government. Mildrell's rash actions had completely shattered the 4400's public support. Jarl left, dejected, and went to Keisha to drown his sorrows in alcohol. Unable to enter the hotel anymore, he asked Keisha's father to keep an eye out for clock patterns. Meanwhile, Dr. Andre and Shanice sneaked out of the hotel to discuss their next move. They witnessed a hotel guard getting injured in a collision with a passerby. The kind-hearted doctor used his power to transfer the injury to himself. Observers realized they were travelers and immediately called the authorities. Shanice hurried Dr. Andre away, scolding him for his recklessness. The 4400 were now public enemies, and they couldn't afford to reveal their powers. Additionally, Shanice was distressed by Dr. Andre taking on the injury himself. Then Dr. Andre noticed a mouse and transferred the injury to it, revealing that his ability worked on other creatures too. That evening, a clock pattern appeared on the wall once more. It seemed Jarl's brother had learned about Jarl's dismissal and started leaving these marks outside. The numbers on the pattern were irregular, likely a code. Jarl rushed home to find any relevant documents. The next day, Shanice drafted the shelter application, preparing to submit it. Jessica tried to obstruct their efforts, stating that the document needed government approval to be valid, rendering their actions meaningless. Unsure if she was truthful, they decided to proceed anyway. Later, Officer Keisha approached Jessica, trying to reverse Jarl's dismissal. Their argument escalated, and Jessica inadvertently revealed that the government had been waiting for the 4400 to cause trouble, giving them a pretext to monitor them openly. Realizing the government's sinister intentions, Keisha resigned, unwilling to be complicit. That night, Dr. Andre enlisted Soraya's help to decode the hospital records and Jarl's brother's codes. Soraya discovered that the government had identified a Z-factor in the 4400's bodies, possibly the key to their powers, explaining the blood draws. Soraya took the documents, assuring Dr. Andre she would investigate the Z-factor. However, she secretly handed the documents to Jessica, revealing her true allegiance. Meanwhile, the pastor was still troubled by his power to nullify abilities. Shanice had a different perspective. These powers had brought them nothing but loss, taking away their normal lives. The pastor's ability could restore their normalcy. She asked him to nullify her powers, and he did, allowing her to hug people freely at last. The next day, the shelter application was approved, and the government withdrew from the hotel, granting the 4400 their freedom. Later, Jessica met with the leading agent, revealing that the shelter application was part of their plan. The agent wanted the 4400 to cause more trouble so they could be captured all at once. Meanwhile, Jarl and Keisha returned to their apartment and found Jarl's brother's favorite book before he disappeared, which had the same clock patterns. Jarl believed the key to deciphering his brother's code was within the book. Just then, the police arrived to arrest Jarl for stealing state assets. He was confined in a room and subjected to 24 hours of high-intensity noise torture. Officer Jessica claimed Jarl's brother had been arrested for endangering security and demanded Jarl reveal his whereabouts. Believing her, Jarl confessed he didn't know where his brother was since he had always been rebellious. He recalled that even when their father died years ago, his brother couldn't attend the funeral under surveillance. Jarl found him feverish and decided to stay and care for him. A few days later, the brother recovered, and they argued about their father. The brother had been a juvenile delinquent, and their father believed he'd never amount to anything, which the brother resented. Jarl, looking at his brother's ankle monitor, echoed their father's doubts. The brother then revealed the truth. He had been researching for a company when agents coerced him into a mission, later fabricating charges to keep him silent. The brother resisted and continued to fight the government's tyranny. Realizing his mistake, Jarl apologized, and the brothers reconciled. Later, the brother explained his research to Jarl, introducing the concept of the golden ratio, which permeates everything, including time. He was studying how altering the golden ratio could affect the world, even changing spatial distances. After explaining, the brother left, and a green light flashed. Jarl never saw him again since then. Meanwhile, Keisha informed Claudette that the Defense Department had arrested Jarl and that she had no immediate solution. She warned Claudette to be cautious, as the environment was increasingly hostile to the 4400. Claudette calmly pulled out a baseball bat, assuring she could protect herself. Just then, she heard a noise from the trash can and discovered Mildrell hiding inside. Claudette quickly took her back to her apartment. Mildred had become the most wanted criminal for attacking the leading agent. She feared returning to the hotel would endanger everyone. She confided in Claudette that the pastor had nullified her powers, leaving her vulnerable and alone. Claudette reassured her and planned to disguise Mildred to reduce the risk of recognition. However, the sight of scissors triggered Mildred's PTSD, reminding her of a traumatic past filled with misfortune, both before and after the time travel. On the verge of despair, Claudette calmed her down, showing her some tear gas she was secretly making for protection. Despite the growing hostility towards the 4,400, Claudette believed Mildred's act of revenge against the leading agent demonstrated the possibility of resistance, which wasn't entirely bad. She urged Mildred to trust her, emphasizing the need for time travelers to support each other. The next day, Claudette posted Mildred's new image on the window with the words, "Embrace your power," as an act of defiance. Meanwhile, Keisha handed Jarl's brother's book to Soraya, hoping she could decode his messages to help Jarl. She then brought some food for the pastor to replenish hotel supplies. The hotel lost power after the government cut it off following their withdrawal. Shanice called her daughter to assure her of their safety and shared the news of her budding romance with Dr. Andre. Mariah, in turn, confided her secret crush on Mildred. Both mother and daughter, part of the LGBTQ community, found common ground. To support the 4,400, Mariah created a fundraising website to seek aid from kind-hearted people. Elsewhere, Soraya learned from Jessica that the Defense Department had been searching for Jarl's brother. An agent had spotted him last week, leading to Jarl's arrest. Soraya suggested she interrogate Jarl, who was furious upon discovering her undercover role. Pretending to question him, Soraya subtly pointed out keywords in the book that hinted at the clock patterns, indicating the content within the book. Jarl realized Soraya was helping him and played along, denying any knowledge of his brother's whereabouts. Jessica, fooled by their act, released him. Jarl took the book with him and quickly found Keisha, revealing he had deciphered his brother's code. The clock numbers led him to the 69th sentence on the 12th page, which mentioned the hotel's name. He deduced his brother was in room 437. Entering the room, he found it empty and felt immense disappointment. Suddenly, the bed indented, and the brother appeared out of thin air. Jarl, overwhelmed with emotion, finally reunited with his brother after many years. The 4,400's fundraising website received a significant donation from Company B. Upon hearing this, Dr. Andre felt uneasy, questioning why this company would aid those deemed public enemies. With that, this drama concludes abruptly. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.